Hey mathematicians, first I'm going to walk you through an example of how to make your own scatter plot. And I've got my x and my y values here in my table. So remember the x-axis is here and the y-axis is here. So that's going to help me graph. And my first coordinate, which is 5, 2, means that it needs to line up with the 5 on the x-axis and the 2 on the y-axis. So it'll be right there at 5, 2. My next coordinate, 2, 7, will line up on the x-axis at 2 and the y-axis at 7. So that coordinate will be right here. 9, 0 will be over here at 9, and it won't go up or down because the y-coordinate is a 0. 3, 3 will be here. 4, 6 will be here. 7, 3 will be right there. 0, 6 will be at right here because it's at 0 and then up 6. And then finally 1, 7 will be right here. So now that we have our scatter plot, let's talk about what kind of correlation we have. And the word correlation can also be described as a trend. And another word for that is also relationship. So all of these words mean the same thing. So correlation, relationship, and trend all mean the same thing. So you can see that they generally form a linear pattern, which means they make not a perfect straight line. We're not going to expect a perfect straight line in a scatter plot because real life data isn't usually straight, but it definitely has a pattern that falls along a line. And you can see that that line follows a negative pattern because you can see that it's going down from left to right. So it has a negative relationship or trend or correlation, whichever word you want to use. And that is because as the x increases, so you can see as the x gets larger, moving in that direction, as it increases, the y value is generally decreasing. So it has a negative correlation because as the x goes up, the y coordinate goes down or decreases. So in an opposite example here, you can see that when the x is increasing, so when the x value increases, instead of decreasing, this time the y value appears to be increasing. So this is an example of a positive correlation. Here's another example of a negative correlation. Whereas the x value increases, the y value decreases. And lastly, we have an example of no correlation here because you don't see an increase or a decrease. There's no pattern to this, which means there is no correlation. Example number 3, so real life data is messy and doesn't usually make a perfectly straight line. So sometimes we have to draw something called a line of best fit. And what that is it is a line that kind of goes right through the middle of the data. So the best way to do that is to kind of make a little circle around the data and then draw a line that goes right through the middle. So this is an example of a line of best fit because it goes right through the middle of the data. So you've got about the same number of coordinates on either side of it. Example number 4 asks us to interpret the line's y-intercept. So remember what the y-intercept is. It's where the line hits the y-axis. So right there is our y-intercept. So let's look at our answer choices and narrow it down to figure out which one is the right one. So first I want to make sure you know what it's not. So when you see that word change, remember the word change implies that we're talking about the slope, and that's not asking us about the slope. It's asking us about the y-intercept. So that is not going to be the right answer. The correct answer is going to be A. And the reason for that is it says if a student spent no time on their homework, so 0 hours because they spent no time. So if I look here at the number of hours and I go right here to 0, then that score is the predicted score if you spend no time on your homework. Last but not least, it is asking us what the slope of the line represents. So we are looking, remember slope, another word for slope is rate of change. So it's either going to be this option or this option because it has that word change. And remember that slope is rise over run, which is your change in your y values over your change in your x values. And our y value in this case is, oops, sorry, wrong color, people. And our y value is hours. So we need to choose the option that has people first and then hours second. So that is why it's not going to be this one. It's going to be this option right here.